I remember that night with a clarity that feels unnatural, like a memory that refuses to fade no matter how much time passes. It was early October, the kind of night where the air turns cold too quickly and darkness settles in before you're ready. My siblings and I were visiting our mom after our parents' divorce, and even though we didn't see her often, those visits were supposed to feel safe. Her apartment, however, was anything but that. It was hidden behind a long, narrow alley in a crowded yet strangely empty complex that always felt like something was missing. That night, we decided to play hide and seek outside. Zach, the neighbor kid, suggested it because it was October and it would be more fun in the dark. There were 6 of us, and when he became the seeker, we all ran. My sister Jess pulled me toward the alley behind the building near the dumpsters, convinced no one would look there. At first it felt like a game, crouching and waiting, trying not to laugh, but after a few minutes the silence became unbearable. There were no footsteps, no voices, not even Zach calling out, just a heavy stillness that felt like something was listening. We decided to leave our hiding spot, and as we stepped into the middle of the alley, I saw a figure standing under a dim overhead light at the far end. It was too tall, completely still, and watching us. The light hid its face, but its hair caught the glow, bright, colorful, like a clown wig. My stomach dropped as I realized what I was looking at. Jess saw it too, and without a word, she pulled me away. We found Mike and Chi-Chi near the parking lot and told them what we saw, but when we pointed back, the clown had moved much closer. Close enough now that we could see its face, or what should have been a face. It was entirely black, as if covered in something thick, with only its eyes visible, staring directly at us. Then it waved slowly, like it knew we understood. Before we could react, Chi-Chi screamed and pointed behind us where another clown stood just outside the light, taller, with longer limbs and green hair. That was enough. We ran without thinking, splitting and regrouping until we reached safety inside. Eli was already there, shaken and pale, and he told us he had seen one too while hiding in the courtyard, thinking it was part of the game until he heard Zach's voice elsewhere and realized something else had been standing right in front of him, looking down at him. That night, fear settled into the apartment, but exhaustion eventually pulled me to sleep. Sometime later, I woke up thirsty and went to the kitchen, where I heard a soft tapping at the window. Confused, I moved closer, reminding myself we were on the 2nd floor. The tapping came again, gentle and patient, like it knew I would check. When I lifted the blinds, I came face to face with the same clown, its black, featureless face pressed close to the glass, those eyes staring directly into mine without emotion, as if it had been waiting for me specifically. I screamed and ran to my mom, and when she came to look, there was nothing there. Nothing was ever reported, no explanation was ever given, but that night never left me. Even now, whenever I pass a dark alley or think about playing hide and seek in the dark, I remember that feeling, not of hiding, but of being watched, of being chosen. I was 11 years old when it happened, and even now, years later, I still feel that same tightness in my chest whenever I pass a house that looks even remotely abandoned. Back then, there was a house across the street from my school that everyone knew about, the kind of place kids would joke about but never get too close to. It looked rotten, like it had been left to decay on purpose, with peeling paint, broken windows, and a yard that seemed to grow wild without anyone caring to stop it. My friends would laugh at it every day on the walk home, making jokes about ghosts or crazy people living inside. But I never laughed. I always felt like someone might be watching us from inside, listening. They used to tease me for that, calling me paranoid, but I couldn't shake the feeling. Things didn't really change until October, when my friends started staying after school for activities, and I had to walk home alone. The first time it happened, I told myself it was nothing. As I passed the house, I noticed someone standing in the window, completely still, just watching me. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, only that they didn't move, not even when I looked directly at them. I walked faster, pretending I wasn't scared, and by the time I got home, I had convinced myself it was just my imagination. But it kept happening. Every day, that same figure would be there, waiting at the window, staring as I walked by. It didn't wave, didn't react, didn't even shift position. It just watched. After a while, the fear turned into something worse: anticipation. I knew it would be there before I even reached the house. Then, about a week before Halloween, things changed. As I approached, the figure wasn't in the window anymore. Instead, it was standing outside on the porch, facing me. My heart started pounding, but I told myself to stay calm, to just walk past like nothing was wrong. I kept my eyes forward and moved as steadily as I could, but the moment I passed the house, I heard movement behind me. Fast movement. I turned just enough to see the figure rushing down the steps, and then it was running straight at me. I didn't think, I just ran. I could hear it behind me, gaining on me, shouting things that didn't make any sense, words slurred together like it wasn't fully aware of what it was saying. Panic took over completely, and I darted into the nearest alley, diving behind a filthy dumpster, pressing myself into the ground and trying not to breathe too loudly. The smell was unbearable, but I didn't move. I could hear its footsteps entering the alley, slower now, more deliberate. Then the mumbling started again, low and constant, like it was talking to itself, or maybe to me. The footsteps got closer and closer until I was sure it was right on the other side of the dumpster. I remember thinking that if it looked even slightly, it would see me. My entire body felt frozen, like I had already been found but hadn't realized it yet. Then, suddenly, the footsteps stopped. For a moment, there was nothing. No sound, no movement, and then, just as suddenly, the footsteps turned and ran away. I didn't move for what felt like forever, too afraid it might be a trick, but eventually I forced myself up and ran all the way home. When I told my parents, my dad immediately called the police. They came, took my statement, and said they would check the house. The next day, they came back with an answer that made everything worse. According to them, no one had lived in that house for years. It had been completely vacant. They suggested it was probably a squatter, someone homeless who had broken in and decided to scare me for reasons they couldn't explain. That was supposed to make me feel better, but it didn't. Because whoever or whatever I saw had been there every single day, standing in that window, waiting. And the part that still doesn't sit right with me is this: if no one lived there, then why did it always seem like it knew exactly when I would be passing by?